brilliant report that is going to be launched today. The report speaks for itself. It's really brilliant. It covers everything. Well, I would like to draw your attention to a very personal story of myself. I'm an activist of Organization of Women's Freedom in Iraq. I'm based in London. Well, we are, as an organization, we are speaking out against violations of women's rights in Iraq and the occupation, violence that the Islamists are using against women, all kinds of violence by beheading women, killing them, kidnapping them. All sorts of violence really in Iraq is going on at the moment, and the Islamists are playing a very big, the major role in this crimes against women and atrocities, basically, in the most brutal way. And just being a woman in Iraq is enough to be a prime target for all kinds of violence, and simply you cannot go out if you are not veiled, or even if you are in your own home, you might just be taken from your home and killed or raped, or just sold to the neighboring countries for prostitution. And really, AWFI is the most outspoken organization against the Islamists, campaigning against the Islamic Sharia law, campaigning for separation of religion from the state and education system. And recently I've led a campaign in Kurdistan, which is the northern part of Iraq, against Article number 7, and we are calling for the separation of religion from the state. And I went back to Kurdistan just 3 weeks ago to launch the campaign there, and we had conferences and media interviews in the Kurdish language. So the news of the campaign has been everywhere in the news in Kurdistan, and so many people actually welcomed this campaign, and they thought it's really important not to let Kurdistan to be Talibanized in another sense. And just last week I received an email from this Islamist group. They call themselves Ansar al-Islam. Well, they're threatening me to be killed by middle of March, and either in Iraq or in London, because in my interviews I was saying that I'm going back to Kurdistan to hand over the petition and the signatures we raised to the Constitution Committee, and that's why they just put a timetable, a deadline for me to be killed wherever I am, and because simply they say you are campaigning against Islam. And they have, of course, our words are everywhere, our writings and campaignings, and just standing up toward all this criminalization and dehumanization of women in Iraq. And so they cannot really stand with that, the actual fact that it's us, Iraqi women, Kurdish women, who are standing up against them and exposing them. It is not a European person who's doing it, it's actually somebody from that background, from that part of the world. So they can't really stand that fact. Therefore, the only way to sort this problem is by killing us, by assassinating us wherever we are. And this is not the first time we've been targeted. Yanar Mohammed is the first woman in Iraq who received fatwa, death threats, in 2004, again for campaigning against Resolution 137. So you can imagine that being a woman, just being a woman, it's enough to be killed and beheaded and enslaved. And being an activist is much more difficult, and it will make you more exposed to being killed wherever you are, despite the fact that I'm not in Iraq and I'm in London. But that doesn't spare my life, because just being outspoken and exposing their crimes against women in Iraq puts me in a great risk. But their threat doesn't really make me give up on what I am doing. And the fact that I got the fatwa last week and I'm here this week to expose them more and to tell people around the world that we will not keep silent. We will go on doing what we are doing. We will be campaigning for women's rights in Iraq. We will be campaigning for secularization of our society and keeping religion as a private matter to the individuals. And I think I will be stopping here, and I will be more than happy to respond to any questions. And thank you very much once again.
If the press has any questions, could you identify your background and your name, please? Yes.
I'm Laura Fonts from Iraq. What would Article 7 do?
Article number 7 basically states that the majority of Kurdish people are Muslim by identity, therefore Islamic Sharia law should be made a fundamental source. I mean, one of the main sources for legislation making in Kurdistan. And Islamic Sharia law is very discriminative, and it will entirely curtail all women's rights, and it will, in other words, make them submissive and second-class citizens, basically. So therefore, we campaign against it, and the campaign is ongoing.
Are there other questions from the press? Thank you very much. We will begin our panel.